Nice. Quit dragging your feet. This E-Ride giveaway ends in less than a week. Go click that link down in the description and claim your 20-time bonus entry. Go click that link right now.
What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we've got an exciting video for you because I know a lot of you are searching for what E-moto to buy. Today we have a brand new Talaria Sting MX5 and a brand new E-Ride Pro SS 3.0. And today we're gonna go over the differences between the two. We're gonna talk about a bunch of specs, prices, and then a lot of personal preference on which bike I think is better in each category. So we're gonna jump and start right off with battery size. So our E-Ride Pro SS 3.0 has a 72 volt 50 amp hour battery. This is a huge upgrade in size from the previous E-Ride model and really generally has a ton of range. If we move on over to the Talaria MX5, we have a 72 volt 40 amp hour battery. So that is a 25% smaller battery than its competitor here. So we are gonna give the point to the E-Ride 3.0. I should explain how these points are going to work. For the winner of each category, they will typically get 1 point. However, some of these categories I think should be weighted more heavily, like power and battery. If there's a big difference, we're gonna give that bike 2 points. So jumping back to the last category, we are actually gonna give the E-Ride 2 points because that is a much bigger difference in battery capacity. Then if the bikes tie in a category, we're both gonna give them 1 point. Our next category we're gonna jump into is weight. This is kind of a controversial one. The new E-Ride 3.0 got drastically heavier than the 2.0 previous model, but again, it's packing more power and a bigger battery, so that's to be expected. We weighed this bike on our hanging scale at 163 pounds. When we move over to the Talaria, we weighed this bike on our hanging scale at 170 pounds. So it is about 6 pounds heavier, which is a noticeable difference, but not a huge difference. If you are a smaller, lighter rider, you will notice the 7 pounds though. So for this, we are gonna give the point, just a single point, to the 3.0 model. Our next category is gonna be build quality. Let's start over with the E-Ride 3.0. E-Ride Pro has not been around near as long as Talaria, and they did make a huge difference in their build quality on the 3.0 in my opinion. They did a better job selecting their parts. I think some of the parts are higher quality, and overall when I was assembling the bike, more items were tight and ready to go. Let's move over to the MX5. In my opinion, this bike does have better build quality than the E-Ride. The E-Ride did step up a lot from the 2.0, but the MX5 is just, it's really well built. All the bolts, like really all of them, come with Loctite from the factory, which I love, and we've just found in the thousands of miles we've ridden E-Rides and Talarias don't fall apart after a few hundred miles. Like bolts aren't coming loose and coming out, and for me that's a really big difference. So we're gonna give the point to the Talaria here for build quality. Our next category is headlight. I'm someone who loves to ride at night, so a big bright headlight is super important to me. Let's start with the MX5. Here we have pretty much the same headlight that's come on the MX3, the MX4, and the MX5, and it really is not very good. I do not like this headlight, and when I buy an MX5 or if I'm riding a Talaria, I'm taking this light off and putting a better one on it. So this bike is not gonna get the point, spoiler alert. Then one nice thing is on both of these bikes, you can toggle off the headlight with a built-in switch. Most bikes previous to these models didn't have a headlight switch. They also both can turn off headlight and taillight at the same time with their built-in switches, both these bikes. If we move on over to the 3.0, I have an aftermarket light on here right now, but this light is what comes on the 3.0. It is a nice light bar and it is drastically better than the MX5's light. So the E-Ride is gonna get 1 point. If you guys are finding this video helpful, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps out our channel. Our next category is power. So let's start with the MX5. This bike is packing 13.4 kilowatts of power with its 72 volt battery. That is a lot. That gets this bike really ripping. Let's move on over to the 3.0. Here we have 16 kilowatts of power from its 72 volt battery. That is more, and it is quite a bit faster in our drag races. We're gonna throw in a drag race right now so you guys can see. 3, 2, 1, go. I'm winning. All All right, you guys are back, and you guys saw that this bike absolutely smoked the MX5. It is so much faster, so we are gonna give 2 points to the 3.0. Did you guys know that right now in the month of January, we are doing a giveaway for a brand new E-Ride Pro SS 3.0. Everyone in the continuous USA is eligible to enter, and all you have to do for free is go click the link down in the video description, head on over to tbelectricmotor.com, and right here you can input all of your info and you will be entered. And if you guys want bonus entries, go pick up some brand new Talaria Boys merch. We have shirts, hats, and hoodies. Thanks for entering. Hit that subscribe button to be notified, and let's get back to the video. Next category is kind of an important one for me. This is gonna be displays, functionality, buttons, modes, and things like that. So it's a lot to go over. We're gonna start with the MX5 here. When we turn the bike on, we have this small display on the left. This is gonna fire up, and we have 3 drive modes. You can click it in once you push the start button. You've got Eco, Sport, and Hyper. I love that this bike has 3 different power modes, and it's something the 3.0 is lacking that you'll see in a minute. We also have a thumb regen brake right here. We have our headlight switch on and off. This also, as I mentioned, kills the tail light on and off at the same time, and we have our horn. If we continue inside of our display, we can hold the buttons here, and we can get in and we can change we can look at our data, we can change our unit from kilometers to miles an hour, we can go in and we can select our wheel size if you run a different size wheel in the back. You can also select your gear ratio for if you're switching a sprocket to make sure your speedometer stays accurate. And you can actually click on your battery and see its stats. You can see the amp hour capacity that it has right at the moment when you're riding it. It also has your voltage and your number of cycles. That's just really good info to know, to just make sure you kind of know the health of your battery. It's something you can't do on the E-Ride. You can also keep scrolling down and you've got more battery info. If we go back, you can go into match, and this is a way for you to match your controller to your motor. If you were to get a replacement MX5 motor or something and you needed to pair that with your controller that you already have, that's a good feature right there. So I love that there is a lot of functionality built into this small display. It's also color, it is easy to see. A lot of people don't like it because it's small, but for me, it kind of keeps it protected on the side here. There's less risk of it breaking in, say, a crash. Here on our 3.0, if we turn the key on, we have this large center display, which a lot of people really like. You can see it really clearly. It's gonna have your miles, your trip, your total odometer, and then you've got your miles per hour in the middle. You've got park for if you turn your park on and off here. It's just like the start button on a Talaria. You've got your battery, and then one thing I really love that they added on the 3.0 is you can see your battery, controller, and motor temperatures here on the screen. I do wish that you could change these from Celsius to Fahrenheit, but you can't. If we go into here, you can do your sport mode and eco mode. Again, I love that Talaria has 3 modes versus the 2 on this, especially with how fast this bike is. I think they really need a mode right in the middle between eco and sport. We have our regen here. We've got levels 1, off, and 2, and we've got a horn. And one nice thing is this bike does have reverse. So if I hit this reverse button, take it out of park, I'm actually driving in reverse. So that is a really nice thing to have as well. All in all, I am going to tie both of these bikes because each of them have different things that I prefer, but if you guys think that you would like a certain setup better than the other, you know, you could give the point to whichever one you think, but right now, 1 point for each. It is now time to talk about top speed. Let's start with the MX5. We have tested this bike's top speed with our GPS at 60 miles an hour with stock tires. We move on over to the 3.0. We previously had a pre-production 3.0. This is now a full production bike. Previously, we tested it at 56 miles an hour on the same street and the same GPS as the MX5. And then today, I went outside to see if this production one was any different. It only went at 54 miles an hour on the same street and the same GPS. And the other kind of bigger underlying problem is that the display said I was doing 62 miles an hour. And that's the top speed that E-Ride says the 3.0 is supposed to go, but it only went 54 in all reality. So I don't love that. We are gonna give this point to the MX5 because its display is accurate and it actually goes the speed that they say it goes. Next up is suspension. Let's start with the E-Ride Pro. We are rocking fast ace suspension front and back. We have a 60-pound spring in the fork and a 450-pound spring in the rear shock. I think the suspension feels really nice on this bike, and it's a huge improvement from what E-Ride Pro used to put on their bikes. Fast Ace is a little bit more of a name Chinese brand for these E-motos, and I think the bike feels really nice. If you move on over to the MX5, we have a different setup of suspension, but again, I think it feels really nice. We have a Talaria factory rear shock with a progressive rate spring. This does feel a little bit better for a really large or heavy rider. The spring's gonna be able to hold up a little bit better. If we move on to the fork, this is a more of a no brand fork. I'm just gonna call it Talaria factory. It still has a lot of adjustments here, and in my opinion, think it feels very comparable to the Fast Ace fork that is on this bike. So we're gonna call this a draw and give each bike 1 point. Our next category is brakes, and I'm excited to tell you guys that this is a close competition because both brakes are really good. If we go and start with the 3.0 here, we have .4 fluid full moto style brakes here with a nice lever. The blade feels really good. We've got adjustment here and adjustment here with nice wide hoses with a lot of fluid. If we move down to the caliper side, calipers are much larger than the previous models and much larger pads, and these brakes do have really good performance and feel to them. If we move over to the MX5, it's a very similar story. We do have quite different feeling and looking levers, but they're still .3 or .4, large hoses, and they feel really good in my opinion. If we're talking about the brake calipers, they appear to be the exact same caliper, except for one little key difference. That is that these calipers have 2 mounting points for the hose to connect, and each bike uses a different mounting point. So they use a little bit different fitting, but both calipers appear to be the same and do have the opposite hole that the other manufacturer is using. But both brakes, in my opinion, feel really good, and we're gonna give both bikes a draw here and get a point. Well, as you guys can see, E-Ride Pro has really stepped up their game. If you guys previously saw our video where we compared an MX5 to the 2.0 model, the MX5 absolutely annihilated it and it smoked it in the majority of the categories. And now E-Ride Pro is holding their own. Our next category though is charging speed, and this is one that E-Ride is gonna lose. The E-Ride does have a bigger battery, which does make a difference, but the MX5 has a 15 amp 72 volt charger, which charges this 72 volt 40 amp hour battery in like 2 hours and 45 minutes. That is really impressive. And we've never had an issue with the MX5 where the battery wouldn't start charging that we have on previous E-Ride models. I haven't tested the 3.0 enough to know if it has that issue as well, but oftentimes when we would come back from a range test or a hard ride, our E-Rides wouldn't start charging until the battery cooled down significantly. Where the Talaria, the battery just, in our opinion, never got as hot and would always start charging. So 2 hours and 45 minutes is really fast on the MX5. On the 3.0, it is a 10 amp charger. So if these bikes did have the exact same capacity battery, this bike would take 4 hours versus the 2 hours and 45 minutes. So with this bike being a 50 amp hour battery now, it takes 5 hours to charge. But if E-Ride supplied a charger that was 15 amp like the MX5 has, it would be just a little over 3 hours, like 3 hours and 15 or 20 minutes to charge this bike. So we're gonna give the point to the MX5 here because fast charging does make a big difference. Our next category is regen braking. This is an important one for a lot of people. If we start with the 3.0, they didn't really change anything on the new version versus the older 2.0 model. We still have our off and then our 1 and our 2 levels on our adjuster right here. This is only off throttle regen, so when you let off your throttle, you're gonna be regen braking. And in my opinion, it is not very strong and it just doesn't really slow you down much at all. It also doesn't really charge your battery at all, but regen is really more about braking than actually charging your battery. If we move to the MX5, this is where things get drastically different. When we turn the bike on, we have 4 regen levels built into the display here. You can toggle the up arrows 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then if you leave it set in mode 1, you have a variable regen brake lever. So the more you push this, the more regen braking you're gonna get. And the off throttle regen levels, like level 2, 3, and 4 are more powerful than that in the highest level. So this bike has way more regen and it has more customization because you got more levels and a regen brake. So the MX5 is gonna get the point for sure. All right, this category is price. The MX5 comes in at $4,700 and the 3.0 comes in at $4,999, a difference of $300. Because the MX5 is cheaper, we're gonna give it the point. Our next category is stock tires. The 3.0 comes with a really nice dual sport tire. These are a very similar tire to the Shinko 241 that a ton of people upgrade their E-moto to. They're the same size front to back, apart from this being an 18 and this being a 19. And I think these are an excellent tire for the majority of riders that are gonna purchase this bike. Now the MX5 here, these are not stock tires that are shown. We'll put up on screen what the stock tires look like. They are a little more of an off-road specific tire, but I think the majority of riders are gonna be happier with the tires that come on the 3.0. And if you want off-road specific, you can obviously upgrade later on either bike. We are gonna give the point to the 3.0. Our last category today is gonna be ergonomics, basically how the bike feels. This bike, the MX5, we do have a low stem here and a low handlebar. It's only got a 1-inch rise on there versus the 3.0 has like a 2-inch rise on the bar. This is an upgraded bar, but the stock bar has a 2-inch rise, so 1 inch higher, and the stem is about 1 inch higher as well. So the front end on this bike feels way better for somebody that's tall like I am. And then as far as like the way the bikes feel stock, I do love that they did an 18-inch rear here. It just lowers the back end just a little bit, balances it out a little bit better in my opinion than the MX5, but it does limit you on your tire selection with an 18 versus a 19. Here on the MX5, I do like the larger seat. I think it's more comfortable. It's definitely softer and more padded. Again, with the 19, you have more tire choices, and I don't think this bike is badly balanced. I just think the 3.0 feels a little bit better, especially with the front end being a little bit higher. The 3.0 also is lighter, and that is noticeable when you ride it. So things to just kind of consider. I'm gonna give ergonomics a draw on both of them because I think there's pros and cons to each, but I do personally feel like the 3.0 fits me a little bit better.
Okay, I just got to work late. I just got done filming this video. I'm gonna guess which bike won what category.
Okay, Reed, our first category is battery size.
This one by a lot.
Okay, so we did give this one 2 points, so you're right.
Good.
Okay, our next category is weight.
E-ride by not a lot.
Okay, yep, you're right. We did give that a point. Okay, then we have build quality.
Talaria.
Okay, you're right. We gave. Okay, that's good. Headlight.
E-ride, for
Yep,
sure.
you are right. 1 point. And then power.
E-ride.
Okay, by a lot. Did we give it 2 points or 1?
Probably 1.5.
We gave it 2 points. It is a lot faster,
It's a
you gotta
lot.
say.
It's
Okay.
faster.
Display and buttons, like stuff like
E-ride.
that. E-ride, you think?
For display, Talaria for button.
Okay, we called it a draw because
But
this.
Talaria has thumb regen.
Yeah, we do have a regen
And more
category.
modes.
We have a
Not
regen
Talaria
category.
Wins, Talaria wins.
Okay, we gave him a draw.
Okay.
But one of the big things was the extra
3
modes
modes is
and
big.
the switches and stuff. They both have headlight switches. They both have starts and parks and all that stuff. Okay, next up we've got top speed.
Talaria.
Yes, Talaria did win. I was going to give this a draw,
It's
but
like 8 mile an hour faster.
it was 4 mile an hour faster, but I tested the production bike today when you weren't here, and it went 2 miles an hour slower, only went 54. So yeah, Talaria,
6 mile. Yeah.
6 mile an hour. So Talaria won there. Then we've got suspension.
I'd say they're a draw, but I like the linkage on the Talaria a lot better. Put the fork on the E-ride a little better.
We gave him a draw, because you're right.
There we go.
Okay, brakes.
Draw.
Yep,
Same.
draw. Okay, charging speeds
Talaria by
Yeah.
a mile.
by a mile. Even though this battery's bigger, we talked about the differences. So much better. Regen braking.
Talaria
Yep, by a lot.
by a mile.
By a mile. Okay, price.
Talaria.
Yep, we did give
300
Talaria the
down.
point, 300 less. Tires. Not these tires, the stock tires.
E-ride.
Yeah, we did give E-Ride the point because they'll be better
Yeah.
for most people.
Yep.
Not everybody, but for most. Ergonomics, just the feel of the bike,
Talaria.
stuff like that. You gave Talaria?
I like Talaria better.
Okay, I gave it a draw, and I said that I like E-Ride better because of the taller stem and
Yeah.
taller bar, and I think stock, the 18 rear, does make it balance pretty nice.
Yeah, I would say stock, the E-ride's better, but won't do a handlebar and then I like the Talaria better.
Yeah, I think you're kind of right. You're spot on. Because our MX5 that has some of those upgrades feels really nice to ride. Really, really nice. I think that's it. That is it. I think you got them all.
Yeah.
Like spot on.
Also, bonus category, Talaria has a gearbox. Better.
Well, as you guys can see, the E-Ride Pro SS 3.0 barely pulled out the win here at 10 points versus 9 for the MX5. As a reminder, we did weigh the scale a little bit harder for power and battery at 2 points each for those categories, because those really are a big difference compared to the MX5. We appreciate you guys watching this video. Hopefully you found it helpful as you're trying to pick what E-moto you want to buy. And as a reminder, if you guys need any parts or upgrades for your bike, check out our website, tbelectricmoto.com. We do have parts pages for either of these bikes, and you guys can click on those and you'll know that all those parts are gonna work for you. We appreciate you guys watching. Catch our next video. It's gonna be an exciting one. And if you guys haven't already, enter to win the brand new 3.0 that we're giving away. Use that link down in the video description. We'll see you next time. Bye.